Episode of the Many Hats of Coco. My name is Theo Czuk. I'm going to be the host for the show today. We are at the Tronson Art Gallery in Springfield, Oregon. And right now I'm going to bring up our guest, Justin Boggs, an artist that I'm very happy to have here today. So mostly, I'm going to jump right in here. Mostly I've explored your work online. I've enjoyed it, and but you had some interesting things too that you were saying about it online, and obviously it's abstract, but you have something that you called contemporary abstract interiors. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, with this work, I'm kind of referencing architecture and the interior space, as far as with the stairs, the doorways, the hallways, but it's abstract in the sense that I'm kind of focusing on transparencies and depth, high angle perspective, a perspective that you typically wouldn't see whenever you enter an interior. And also with, you know, the vibrant colors and whatnot. Obviously it's abstract, but then obviously once you engage with it, you see that there's an architectural reference. So that's, and contemporary comes into play as in I'm just an active artist working right now, which is therefore contemporary in some sense. So that's how I kind of came up with the best way to kind of describe my genre or what I'm engaging with is contemporary abstract interiors.
And I understand that you actually have a show coming up here at the Tronson Gallery. When does it start?
May 12th is the opening, here. Yes.
And how many pieces will you be showing?
I'm still not exactly sure yet. I still have some pieces I'm currently working on, but I hope to have around 10 pieces, 8 of them paintings, and then 2 of them mixed media. And if I have enough time, potentially also like some large illustrations.
Well, mixed media sounds interesting. What are some of the medias that you'll be mixing?
I have 2 pieces that are already completed. They're mixed media, and they are stained wood that I cut out with a jigsaw, and then wheat pasted and applied. It's called intaglio prints, and intaglio is whenever a copper etched printing method. So I printed some prints onto transparent Japanese paper from these copper plates, and then wheat pasted them onto this stained wood that I also had cut out. So something you kind of got to see in person to kind of understand it if you're not familiar with intaglio printing. But they're mixed media just because I'm using a variety of kind of mediums and fusing them together.
I'm not familiar with that, so I don't see it. So there, take that. You know, I'm just going to go through some questions that audiences often like. I like. What got you into your art? Is there a family member that is an artist, or?
My dad's a musician, but I apparently did not get those genes passed down. But I actually, surprisingly, I wasn't really into art much all the way through high school and even middle school. I remember drawing a little bit in elementary school, but other than that, I didn't pick up art again until I moved to Portland. I actually went to Portland Community College and got my Associates of Business and thought I was going to be a suit and tie kind of person. But my roommate at the time, he was an artist and he kind of got me into art. So I didn't even complete my first painting until 4 years ago. So whenever I was 21 and I just turned 25.
And now you just got your degree from U of O in art.
Yes.
And that's a baccalaureate?
Yeah.
And this is acrylic? I'm sorry.
The dark blue black background is acrylic spray paint. And then this was actually my first time. This is technically a mixed medium piece as well because the dense line work is screen print.
Mm-hmm. And so your roommate exposed you to art, and you had it around you. What was he working on? What medium was he?
His style is like vastly different than mine. He kind of does characters and kind of little monsters and kind of more of a doodler, I guess you would say. Mm-hmm. But that at least inspired me to, go out, get some paint and, get a sketchbook and just see what I could come up with.
So you weren't an artist in your young life then?
No, I always tell people because I get that question quite a bit whenever I first got into art, and I remember in 3rd grade I was the best person at drawing flames. So that's what I remember.
There you go.
That was the start of my art career.
Quite the evolution. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Onalaska in Washington, centered directly in between Portland and Seattle. Mm-hmm. A really small school. There's 45 people in my graduating class.
Wow. Wow. Do you think that does that affect your art at all?
I think if anything, it prolonged how long it took before I got into art because we lost funding after my freshman year for our art program, so I didn't have any art classes after my freshman year. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I wasn't even engaging in art, in school back then because it just wasn't even available. So I think that kind of postponed me getting into art a little bit and hasn't necessarily influenced it.
Mm-hmm. And when you started painting, was it in this style? Has this always been, or has it evolved?
No, I used to mess around with spray paint and just kind of do some abstract stuff. I mean, it's taken thousands of hours to even get to what we have back here. But no, whenever I first started painting, I would kind of do a few characters and kind of a street art, kind of pop art style a little bit, because I'm also into doing like murals and public art, which that's where the spray paint comes in, and then messing around with spray paint on canvas. But I'm still, I would say, in my early stages of creating paintings. So.
Well, that begs the question, where do you get your inspiration? So you started out doing street art, political, social issues?
No, not political or social. I kind of more so get my influence, well, obviously every artist gets influence from other artists, but I kind of identify more as a visual artist. But there's definitely, I would like to think, a conceptual undertone a little bit to my work as far as trying to come up with, for lack of a better term, kind of sophisticated compositions. But I kind of get my influence from everything that I see on social media and the platforms where I kind of see other people's work from around the world. And then I try to fuse what I see and create something that's original, but still highly influenced by a number of different artists.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us a name, an artist that you enjoy?
There's a lot.
Affected you?
Tristan Eaton, I really like him. He's a street artist, originally from New York, and he lives in LA now. James Jean, even though I probably more so get some of my colors from him and not the compositions, but he's another artist who lives in LA, and yeah, the list goes really on and on.
And what's a typical day routine when you're doing art? Do you have a studio that you work in? Do you?
Yeah, I have a studio at my house, and typical would just, whenever I like to paint, I think it takes a couple hours to even warm up and really get in the mode, and so I usually paint to like 5-hour sessions whenever I get the chance, but I also have a day job Monday through Friday, so usually just come home and try to paint for at least a couple hours every day, but I get my long studio hours in on the weekend.
Would you say that your art is biographical, autobiographical?
No, I wouldn't say.
Then that would lead me to, what's the easiest and the hardest thing about creating it if it's not coming from within?
There's a lot of hard factors. Patience. It definitely tests my patience. There's been, I've seen so much artwork through going to school, and since we have all these social media platforms and just websites that are out there, so I'm always visually consuming other people's art. So I'd say the hardest thing is to come up with my own original work, because if my work starts to, I would like to think I have a fairly good memory, so whenever my work starts to look too much like another artist, then I try to, you know, veer away from that. So the hardest part at this point is just creating original paintings, because painting's been around for, you know, thousands of years at this point. So just creating original paintings is probably the most difficult part.
How long does it usually take you to create a piece?
It all depends on how ambitious and just what I'm going for. I'm trying to do more technical paintings at the moment, so you know, I don't know, I think a painting like this took me probably 25 hours or so, but I'm also in, you know, 3/4 of the way done with an oil painting right now that I've been working on for probably well over 100 hours. So it all depends on the scale, whether I'm working with oils or acrylic, because oils take, you know, longer to dry than acrylics do, and just overall what I'm trying to accomplish.
And do you have one canvas going at once, or do you tend to?
I typically just have one, because I've learned from the past that I can't really work on two, because then the new one that I move on to, the old one gets put away and never finished. So I've kind of forced myself to work on one at a time. But with that said, I'm working on two right now, so hopefully they both get finished.
And how about frustrations as an artist? And this would either be with materials, or with the environment, or with trying to get the work out.
I don't know if there's frustrations, but there's challenges. I try not to get frustrated, but it's definitely very challenging from creating the work and then also networking, trying to get shows. You know, yeah, those are just all challenges, and I remind myself that I'm still young. So that kind of makes me not get frustrated. Get back to me in 10 years and see where I'm at, and I might be frustrated. But right now I just approach them as just challenges, and yeah, you just got to kind of work as hard as you can and just hope it pays off.
Well, certainly we'll have you back in 10 years. Have you ever hit a wall? And what have you done to get by that?
What's that?
Have you ever hit a wall where you're working on a piece and it just doesn't
I haven't. That's whenever I start another painting. So I've never hit a wall and just stopped creating for a couple weeks because I just, you know, couldn't find any source of inspiration. That hasn't happened yet. I definitely have hit crossroads or hit points where the piece is turning out less successful than I envisioned it. But I wouldn't say I've necessarily hit a wall and, you know, lost all motivation kind of threw my hands up.
Does the artwork ever go in a different direction from
it always goes in a different direction.
And you enjoy that, I imagine.
Yeah, it's all part of the process.
Yeah. Never could have guessed. Well, I was so juiced on loving you, I never got to see your emptiness. Well, my imagination never let me see. But you were saying by the way you were swaying, you were getting kind of tired of me. Hey, more November. Sweet moon November, how I remember, yes, the burning embers now, sweet surrender, hey, moon November, sweet moon November. I never saw the action show. I had no choice, cause I had no voice. It was decided a long time ago. Whoa, 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 I just wish I'd noticed. At least I might have tried. I never would have known if you didn't let it show by the way you never met my eye. Moon November, sweet Moon November. How I remember, yes, the falling embers now, the sweet, sweet surrender. Hey, Moon November. I never could have guessed I was so juiced on loving you. I never got to see your emptiness. Well, 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 my imagination never let me see. But you were saying by the way you were swaying, you were getting kind of tired of me. Hey, 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 Moon November, sweet Moon November. How I remember, yes, the burning ember now, the sweet, sweet surrender. Hey, Moon November, sweet Moon November, the burning ember, sweet, sweet surrender. Moon November, sweet Moon November. Thank you so much. Does the audience have any questions at this point? The audience does not have any questions going on.
Oh, there's one question.
Oh, we've got one over here.
If the opportunity in this area arose for mural painting, does that type of project interest you?
Yes, it interests me a lot. I've done a few large-scale murals. I like being able to work on that large of a scale. I like the idea of having artwork exposed to the community and not within the gallery space. I'm actually putting in a quote for a large mural project up in Portland right now, and I kind of have the okay to do a large mural here in Eugene that I'm going to do this summer. So yes, I'm actually almost as interested in doing large-scale murals as I am doing like canvas and contemporary paintings and having gallery shows. But it's often kind of hard to find an owner who's willing to trust my vision and talent to paint a large wall, and then also to find the funds, since creating murals is fairly expensive. So that's another one of the challenges I have, is trying to find a space and a wall to do a mural.
Yes, I have heard rumors about local mural possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's currently a project going on right now called 20 by 21, which is the city of Eugene's paying for it, and they're trying to get 20 large-scale murals in Eugene by 2021. And they've already, I think they did 3 or 4 this last summer. So hopefully I can get in on one of those in the future.
Good, I hope you do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just to follow up on that, if you did a mural, would you do it all yourself, or would you have people that worked with you to?
Depends on the scale. We call it if I have an assistant, they kind of would do the fill-ins for me. So I would do the line work and the composition, and then they would just fill in the areas. But it would all just depend on the scale, and I have quite if I did a mural, I'd use spray paint. So I have quite a few friends who know how to kind of use spray paint and use that with their art as well. So I would get their help if necessary.
Coco has a question.
So is there any murals within Springfield or Eugene that you've noticed that you really like that pique your interest?
Yeah, there's this guy, I think his name's Bu Staton, I believe his name is, and he did the large one on the side of the McDonald Theater that's viewable from the bus station in downtown Eugene. I don't know if you've seen that. There's another guy named Steven Lopez who graduated 10 years ago, I want to say, from U of O, and he has a few murals around town. But no, I like that Eugene's doing this project right now with the murals, because I think Eugene definitely lacks kind of murals in public art. I mean, downtown Springfield has more murals in public art than Eugene does, and it's, you know, a quarter the size.
And where was yours painted, yours hanging? You said you're going to be doing one in Eugene.
Yeah, it's down 6th Street, like 6th and Polk, on the side of an apartment complex. Mm-hmm.
And what's the largest outdoor mural you've done?
The largest mural I've ever done was actually indoors at an auto body shop, and it was, I think, like 20 feet high and like 30 feet long. Mm-hmm.
And are any of your canvases of a larger size?
Yeah, 2 of my paintings I'll have in the show are 5 feet by 4 feet.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, quite larger than even that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else out there? These are great questions. Thanks, Coco. I have a quick question before we get out of here, and that is, we ask everybody to bring a hat that Coco can wear. And you brought one of the more interesting hats that we've had.
I tried.
And I was hoping there's a story behind that.
Unfortunately, there's not too much of a story. I think I just got it at like a thrift shop a few years ago. And, you know, I do wear it a couple times a year, but only whenever there's snow on the ground. But not too much of a story. I just thought Coco would like it.
Could have said only when it's 100 degrees out. That would have made a more interesting story. Any more questions from anybody out there? Just, yeah.
When you start on a new project, do you know exactly what it is and have it outlined and planned ahead of time, or do you kind of let the art make the decisions?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, so for these abstract interiors, I draw them out on the canvas with pencil first. I kind of have an idea with colors, but the composition itself is planned out before I put any or apply any of the paint. But yeah, I'm not necessarily with my work. I don't, you know, just go to a blank canvas, get some colors out, get the brush out, and then just attacking it, you know, abstractly and all that. Yeah, I don't really do that. There's quite a bit of planning. I mean, this painting, for example, this is my show's called Beyond the Interior, and this is the first abstract interior that I ever painted. And I was doing an independent study with one of my professors at U of O, and he had me draw for 1 month before he let me paint anything. So this composition is the result of drawing like 100 drawings and picking out my favorite one. And the whole idea behind that was to stress the preparation that's needed to kind of create a successful piece of work.
Well, that's it. Justin, it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad you joined us today. Justin Boggs, once again, will be at the Tronson Art Gallery next month, and we're talking about, what is the actual dates that you'll be here?
May 12th is the opening. But Jim's nice enough to let me have my work up for 2 months, so I imagine it will be up until a few days before the second Friday in July.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Again, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.